Hello, Lisa here, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat that this is a video that is for grown-ups only. So this is not something you want to watch with your kids. This is actually going to be a little magical working that I am doing to create a bit of an aphrodisiac oil, which I am going to affectionately call Let's Get It On. So between the nudity on the tarot card you see in the shot here and just generally talking about all of these properties, Mama's kids should be doing something different. So welcome. I just thought it would be really fun to share this because I'm really enjoying coming up with my own sort of spells and recipes, and this is just one that I really wanted to share. So I'm just using a little Palo Santo here just to make sure that all of my ingredients have been cleansed. And then I'm just going to jump right in. I haven't scripted or planned this in any way other than to make note of which ingredients that I wanted to use. So you're just going to come along with me for the journey. So I'm going to stick that Palo Santo in my smudge bowl and set it aside. I've also got some incense going, just something to help me sort of set the tone. I have a whole lot of stuff involved in this, so I'm going to move this tray out of the way and we're just going to start sort of from the beginning. So I have chosen 2 tarot cards to work with throughout this working. The Two of Chalices, the joined one from the Spirit Keepers Tarot by Annabelle Wen, and the Lover's card from the Druidcraft Tarot. And then I've also made a couple little labels to use. I plan to make a larger bottle of oil, a roller ball of that same oil, so I'm going to mix these two kind of at the same time with the same approximate ingredients, and then I'm also going to be making a spray, but this I will be topping up with water, like moon water from my last moon water ritual. I have a whole bunch of goodies here, so I'm going to set this aside and we are going to jump right in. So I'm going to get out my 2 main containers. Now this one is a roller ball that has a rose quartz roller ball in it. Sometimes I struggle to get these little tops off, but let's see how I do. Okay, now most of the ingredients that I'm using in this oil have either aphrodisiac or attracting sort of properties to it. So I've got a whole bunch of good stuff. I'm going to start with a little bit of honey. So the properties of honey are exactly what you would think. A little bit of sweetness, and then of course honey is also associated with bees and pollinating and procreation and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to be putting a little bit of that. Sorry, it's off camera so that I don't get honey everywhere. I'm not going to use a lot. Honey's also, or can be, a really good preservative. Now I should point out that I am no expert at any of this stuff, so please, if you're making something for yourself, definitely check in, do your own research, make sure the stuff you're using is going to be safe for the way that you're going to use it. Now I typically just use this stuff very lightly. When I make magical oils, I typically will use them to anoint candles, to anoint me very lightly, but in safe areas like on my hands. I don't tend to put stuff like on my face, things like that where I might break out. So for me, it's really easy to kind of be flexible with ingredients. But so far, this kind of stuff I've been putting in oils has not run any risk of spoilage. So you can see I just put a teeny tiny amount of honey in each of these. I'm also going to put in a little bit of this Madagascar bourbon vanilla. So vanilla is also something that has some aphrodisiac properties. Specifically, vanilla is, I forget what I wrote down here. I did all my research on all my ingredients beforehand. There was a quality about vanilla that I really liked. So I'm going to just take a little, let's actually see if I can, oh, I can draw some of it up with that. It's a little bit thicker than an typical vanilla extract, which would have been my preference. Oh, it's not really doing this very good, so let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that's not really working. This is like a syrupy kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. I have a little chopstick here sort of for stirring, so I'm going to actually just, oh, you know what, that's going to go in best once I've got my oil in, so I'm going to set that to the side. This is going to get messy, y'all. My base oil I'm using is olive oil, which also olives have aphrodisiac properties all by themselves. So instead of my normal fractionated coconut oil, I'm going to be using olive as my base. Now I'm going to be leaving a little bit of room at the top, and I have a really cool thing I'm going to be topping up this oil with that I will have to edit on when it's all finished, because it's going to take about 3 hours to finish that other ingredient. the magic ingredient, we'll say. I'll add it and then I will show you guys, or I'll show you guys as I add it rather. Okay, so mostly olive oil. Now that I've got some oil in there, I should be able to add my vanilla. Now I usually spill something during these videos, so wish me luck. So I'm going to get some vanilla. Whoa, that looks really sticky and messy. So I'm just kind of stirring it up so I can get some of that in there. There we go. It doesn't look very attractive, but I just want those properties in there. Not bad. I'll take it. Okay. I'm going to have to wipe off the tops of these before I go back in. You know what? I think I have a cloth nearby. Yes. I'm going to wipe that off before I stick it back in the vanilla so we don't get olive oil in the vanilla. And here we go. Vanilla again. Let's see if I can do this without making a big mess. It's like surgery. I don't need a ton in there. I just really want the properties. I think I'm getting it on myself. It's hard because I have to like look in the camera and also like look underneath the camera to see what I'm doing. That's good enough. I just want some of that in there. Okay. So I'm going to wipe that off and then I'm going to wipe my bottles off. I have a feeling I'm going to get sticky. Always something I try to avoid, not always successfully. There we go. Okay, that's been wiped off. Let's wipe this one off. Oh yeah, it's everywhere. So you can see that the vanilla is in there. I can't really smell the vanilla. I was hoping to be able to smell it a bit. I might have to figure out a way to add some more. We will see. Okay. For now though, I'm going to set that aside. Probably all the other smells are going to overpower it anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much. Let's talk about essential oils. So the essential oils that I want to include in this are patchouli. Let's see if I can make my camera focus. There we go. Patchouli and sage. Oops. Still doesn't want to focus. There we go. And it bounces whenever I tap the screen. So I'm going to put just a couple drops of each. I'm going to use a smaller amount in the roller bottle because I don't want it to be too overpowering. And I'll use a larger amount. I'm just going to go for like, patchouli's really strong, so I'm just going to go for like a drop. Come on, patchouli, I know you can do it. It's thinking about it. It's like the ketchup bottles. You just keep... Oh, there we go. I got a drop coming. One drop's good in that one. And I'm going to go for 2 drops in the big one, maybe 3. 1, 2, 3. So patchouli also has the same properties. You can tell there's a running theme. I went for pure ingredients that had the associations that I wanted here. So same thing with the sage. I'm going to add 3 in the big one. Come on. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go for 1 in the little one. 1. I think it made it in there. Yeah. Okay, that's our essential oils. Okay, so I'm going to want to get some herb goodness in there. So I'm going to move these aside so that they don't tip because I'm going to be using my mortar and pestle. So I'm going to set these to the side. I can already smell some oils on my hands. So I've probably got some stuff here on the outside of the bottles. Perfect. Okay, good enough. I'm going to smell like all this stuff. So in my mortar and pestle, I'm going to be putting some clove. So I've got just cloves from the kitchen. Whoop, I don't want that big piece. I'm just going to do a couple of cloves. Yeah, maybe I'll put a little more. I don't know how well these are going to grind up. I might have to just put them in the oils. Actually, you know what? These I might put in, I think I'm going to put these in whole. So I'm going to put in 3 or 4 into the big bottle. So here's my big bottle. Yeah, 4 whole cloves should be good. Yeah. And in the little bottle, I'll do like, now, let's just see. I like adding lots of herbs, apparently. Sorry if I'm talking too quiet. I kind of get in the zone when I'm doing this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to add a few more into the big bottle. And then I'm going to add a couple into the little bottle. Get in there. Okay. And those little bits I just left in the bowl. I have also got some cinnamon. This is sweet wood from my Witch's Moon box, so it's in smaller pieces. That, you know what? I might not be grinding anything. I don't think I'm going to be grinding anything, because I think these are small enough to just go directly in also, so I'm going to be adding cinnamon. A cinnamon is obviously the kind of spice that we associate with heat and attraction and things like that, so it's going in there. Now, for clarity's sake, I am making this oil to be used inside of an established relationship. I'm not going to be using this on anybody else. It's meant for me and just to increase confidence when it comes to sort of approaching things from that romantic perspective. I can always use a little more confidence in that area, and I just thought it would be really great to do an oil that will pull in all of those properties of desire and attraction. There we go. So some cinnamon in each of these guys. Alright, so next up I have a bit of the Queen of... Oh, I grabbed the wrong oil. Bear with me. I want my Queen of Wands oil from my Witch's Moon because that's got a lot of fire in it. Okay, and that one... Ah, got it. That's this one right here, Queen of Wands. This has been actually a really great all-purpose oil. I've used it in a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to use that icky vanilla one, so... I'm going to grab some of that Queen of Wands. Maybe a little bit, maybe not that generous. I'm probably not going to use all of that. But a fair amount. So you can see I'm really eyeballing stuff, but for me this is very much a process of doing. And with any kind of magical working, I like to pull in anything that gives me a sense of meaning and pulls in those associations for me, which this certainly does. Oops. That's my Queen of Wands oil. Now I also have here some fresh rose petals. Now what I have going on, these are actually like an orange rose, and I just really liked that fiery quality to them. There's like your typical red rose, which I associate with like romance and things like that. But I really thought this orange rose with a little bit of yellow right at the heart there was just perfect for that more fiery, heating things up sort of element. I'm going to move that out of the way. Before I put that in though, I do have some crystals, so I'm going to move these so I can show you what I've done. Now what I did was I created a bit of a crystal grid using my large vibrated carnelian quartz. I can put this away. My large vibrated carnelian quartz and some smaller bits of clear quartz and here, and some little bits here of the smaller carnelian. So I've set this out to charge. So this one just charging up all these other little guys around, and I did this on a crystal grid cloth that Peggy made me. So this is a Peggy cloth. So that has been charging, and I'm going to be working with these little guys here and putting these into my oils. I'm also going to put some of these into my larger spray bottle. So I'm going to just move my big quartz out of the way. And for this now I'm going to pull over my spray bottle. So this is going to be used like a pillow spray. Just something to bring that energy in. I'm going to be using this primarily with spring water and then just a little bit of these other oils. So I've got one roll-on, I've got this main bottle of oil. This will be used to boost a spray. So the spray will be like a really diluted form of this oil. So in here I'm going to put, actually in each of these, let me pull these all back out. So I've got my spray, my roller, and my big one here. Oops, I'm going to not knock it over. So I'm going to distribute these crystals between them, and I'm going to get some of the smaller pieces for the roller here. The bigger pieces for these bigger ones. And little guy. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the little pieces of carnelian. So I'm going to put a few of those in the spray bottle. A few in this one. Alright, I've got another clear quartz. Let's put that one in there. A few more in the big one. I'm going to put just 3 in the little one because there's not a lot of room in there. And then I'm going to distribute the others into this bigger main oil. Now that the crystals are in there, there's one more loose ingredient I want to add, and that is some of my powdered dragon's blood. This has probably been artificially colored, but I am fine with that. Again, this is a very personal thing, and I'm not going to be like rubbing this on anybody's body or like putting it in anything. I'm probably going to spill some here, but I'm going to get a little bit into my roller ball. Doesn't need to be a lot. It's all sticking on the lid, of course. A little bit in there. Good enough. Oh, it smells so good. So I hope that what you guys can get from watching me do these is an idea that you can kind of make your way, make it up as you go along. You know what I mean? Work with what you have or the kinds of ingredients that you like and you enjoy working with. And then it'll have your intent, it'll have your correspondences, it will have your meaning. And what you have at the end will obviously be something that's really personal and meaningful for you. So I'm just going to wipe off the tops of those since I got all that dragon's blood stuck at the top. And what I'm going to do is just plug that with my finger and give it a little shake and get kind of loosen up. Ooh, it's turning it green. Not the color I was expecting. Hopefully that dilutes a bit. I can't really plug... Oh, I've got a cork. I'm being silly. Where's my cork? Guys, do I have a cork? Did I lose my cork? Possibly. I may have lost a cork for my big bottle. Oh, there it is. It's hiding. You guys are probably yelling at the screen like, there it is, there it is. So I'm just going to cork that and give it a shake. Now, I was planning on putting some... You know, I will say if I had this to do over again, and I really like the properties, but I don't love the color. And I was going to add some red food coloring just to give it a really pinky red color. But now I feel like if I do that, it's going to make it look really brown because I'm pretty sure red and green make brown. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I am going to put in my whole rose petals here. So I've got a little one here that I'm going to shove into this roller bottle. There we go. So that's in there. I've got a couple of bigger ones to put in here. So let's talk about my secret ingredients. So I am making a rose petal infused oil that is currently actually in our sous vide. So you can do these actually by making a, putting some fresh rose petals, like kind of bruising them up and putting them into a jar or container of olive oil and then putting that in a hot water bath. But we are lucky enough that we have a sous vide, which is a device that goes in a big pot and it keeps things at an even temperature for a period of time. And so I actually have my rose petal oil sitting in the sous vide, which means that in about 3 hours, it's going to be completely ready to go, which is really exciting. So I'll be able to top these up with a rose infused oil, and that is going to be my final ingredient, I believe. I'm just looking to see if I forgot anything. I think that's about it. We got honey. And this one I wanted to leave quite a bit of room at the top for the rose oil. And this one here is also going to have more rose oil on top of having this. So actually I'm just going to let these sit and just infuse their ingredients. I'm going to keep the roller ball out for now, just set it aside and just put this lid on it just so it doesn't like accidentally spill. And then this one's just going to have just its crystals, and I'm just going to be setting them, I want to make sure that they're clean and dry, onto these cards to pull in those energies. Once this is completely done, I'm going to be anointing this candle, and I'm also going to be inscribing, where is it? There it is. This is the Witch's Rune Romance, which is really wonderful for this type of magic. So I'm going to be infusing that, or inscribing that symbol onto this candle, and then rubbing in the oil from either the big bottle or from the roller ball. If it rolls well, sometimes I can use roller balls just to anoint candles and things. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to set my intention, burn this all the way down, and just around these items to finish charging them. So not my raw ingredients, but just the spray. And the spray is something I wouldn't want the food coloring in anyway, so it's probably a good idea that I abandoned the red food coloring in this project. So these are ready to go with their crystals. I won't put a fresh rose petal into the spray because the spray is going to have enough water in it that the rose petal won't keep, but the rose petal should keep just fine in the main oil. I've had other spells that I've done that have had oil and fresh petals, and they've actually held up really, really well. So that's been my experience so far. As with anything, like I said, make sure that you do all of your own research to see what the properties are of the ingredients that you want to use, what the keep time is as far as if it needs to be stored in the fridge or whatnot. I'm going to be topping up both of these with a little tiny bit of vitamin E, which is a wonderful preservative, and that will sort of help to boost the antibacterial properties of it so that it keeps a little bit longer. But you do want to give these a good sniff every once in a while, make sure nothing's going rancid, that everything's keeping well. My normal carrier oil is actually fractionated coconut oil, as you guys might have seen, but for this one I wanted to use the olive for its properties. But as always, just use your best judgment, all of that stuff. Again, I am no expert. This is just me doing my real craft and sharing it with you guys. So I hope that this was somehow informative and helpful. How I plan to use these when they're finished: I plan to use the big oil to anoint bigger candles, or to add some drops to a room spray that I can use. I plan to use the roller ball like I use my other roller balls, which is to, usually I'll just roll it on my palm, counterclockwise counterclockwise is what I use when I'm pushing something away. So for attracting, I go clockwise. Then I usually rub my hands together and just breathe in the aroma for a few moments. Just pause, set an intention. So that is how I will probably be using both of these. But there's any number of combinations and uses you can do when you create your own magical oils in this way. And I am back. This is actually the distillation of the rose olive oil that I made. So it was in my sous vide for a few hours. I'm going to use this now just to finish off the big oil. And I'm going to use a little bit of what's left to top up my roller ball. It doesn't have a really, really strong smell, but it was really, really infused with rose petals. So it's got all of those properties. And I'm just going to use this to finish off the master oil. I'm going to stick my label on it, and then this one will be done. Oops, I spilled just a bit, so I'm just going to wipe off the bottle with my cloth here. So combined, it actually smells really good. So I'm just going to cap that with the cork and give it a shake. Now, I think some oils, when you cork them, I do think that the cork breaks down sometimes, so I don't know if it'll hold really well with just a cork or if the cork will start to fall apart. I have had that happen with other things, so we will see. I'm going to actually grab my chopstick so I can give it a really good stir. Okay, so sorry for the bounce there. It's me knocking my camera. So I'm going to give oh no, that was a bad idea, people. My container was so full that stirring with the chopstick made it overflow a bit, but what are they saying? For a dime and for a dollar? So I'm just going to finish stirring it counterclockwise. I guess I won't be labeling this right away, because if I try to put the label on a oily bottle, that's going to be bad. So that's had a bit of a good mix. Okay, so my master oil is all done and mixed. Let's just see what that looks like. So that is what it looks like all together. So this is an aphrodisiac oil. Everything in it has properties related to romance and attraction and good sexy times. So let's see. Got my carnelian in there, lots of good stuff. So I'm going to give that another good couple of shakes. Probably should have done that only and not tried to do the chopstick. There's also a little bit of honey in there. Some good properties. Okay, and I'm just going to also top up my roller ball, and then I will put the actual roller ball on it. So I'm also topping this one up with rose oil. And whatever I have left of the rose oil is also going to go into It's probably about as much as I can do there. Whatever I've left here is just going to go into another container to be used in other workings. Come on. Oh, is it in there? No. Do I have to screw it in? There we go. It's in. Okay. Perfect. So I've got my roller ball all done. So I'll give that a good shake. This one might need to actually sit upside down so the ingredients can mix a little. And finally I have here my room spray, or my pillow spray. So I am going to put just one little squeeze of, well, one little squeeze of the rose oil into my room spray, or pillow spray. And then I'm going to put a full squeeze of the sort of main oil in. So it's going to be a little bit more rosy than just the main oil. So pull that out. These little, I don't know what these are called, but these little eyedroppers. Nice. And you can see that I was able to pull up some of the mix here with the dragon's blood and the other cool stuff in there. So that's going to go into the room spray. And I've also added some extra essential oils to the room spray. A few drops of the sage, a few drops of the no, a few drops of the sage and a few drops of the patchouli are in here as well. And then this is going to be topped up with moon water. So now I have my sort of mother bottle here of the Let's Get It On oil, as I'm affectionately calling it, with the rose. So just as a reminder, my main ingredients here, the things that I think are packing the most punch, are going to be the cinnamon and the clove for that spiciness, the rose for the rose properties of sort of love and attraction. I've also got in here the sage and patchouli for aphrodisiac properties, olive oil as a base because olives also have an aphrodisiac property, and I've got some dragon's blood in there as well for that fieriness. Now dragon's blood is associated with Mars, and so I really wanted that in, and fire and sexuality, so I wanted that in there. And then honey, we call it a honeymoon period for a reason, right? Honey is associated with the process of procreation and pollination and all that good stuff, so it just felt like it had a good property to add in there. And the carnelian here, which I charged with my main carnelian stone and some quartz crystal, so lots and lots of good stuff in here. And I will use this to either top up my roller ball if this empties out on me, or to make more sprays, or to anoint candles, anything else that I want to do. But for now, I think I'm just going to give this a sniff. Yeah, it smells pretty good to me. It's not super strong. The rose oil doesn't have a strong scent. It's very mild. I know that you can get stronger scented rose oils. There's other ways to distill that down to get a stronger smell. You could use a lot more roses. I only used one single fresh rose for the batch. So I used a small amount of oil because I knew I didn't need a lot. But yeah, after this, I'm going to be carving this candle with the Witch's Rune Sigil for Romance and putting that all around it, and then anointing it with this oil, burning that down just to set the intention for all of these oils and this whole spell in its entirety. And then it'll be all good to go, and this batch should last me for quite a while, and I have it now available for any of those sort of times when I want to draw in that sort of, honeymoon energy. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me for my next Everyday Witchcraft, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye!